Do you want to build your own authentication system in Next.js? In this video, I will show you how you can create a secure authentication system using Next.js route handlers, MongoDB, and JWT from scratch. You will learn how to hash passwords securely, use MongoDB to store user data, implement JWT for authentication, fetch and post data with Axios. So by the end of this video, you will have a fully functional authentication system that you can use in your own project. So without wasting time, let's dive right in and start coding. Okay, so I've already done the basic UI, so I don't really want to start writing the code for Tailwind CSS and all that. So this is just my sign up page. This is my sign up page, and I can show you my login page. Then also we have a home page which we can we'll redirect to show the logout button. Okay, so now let's start. To start, we're going to create a folder in this app directory here. Create a folder called API. Now API is where we're going to add all our backend functions. So inside this API, we're going to write we're going to create another folder called config. Then inside this config, we'll create a file called db.js. .ts. Then inside this db.ts, here we're going to connect to our database. So the first thing we'll do is to import Mongoose, of course. So if you don't have Mongoose, you install it, npm install Mongoose. So import Mongoose for Mongoose. After that, we're going to export our connectdb function. So export const connect db will be equal to async. Then inside this function, we'll create a try and catch statement, so we can catch any error. Then we'll say const con will be equals to what? Await mongoose.connect Then now we're going to pass in our MongoDB URI gotten from the database. If you don't know how to get it, I just watched a couple of my videos. I'll show you how you can get your MongoDB URI. But me, I've gotten that it is in my env process.env.mongo URI as string to get rid of the TypeScript error. Now under this, we can just console.log to show that yes, we're truly connected. So we'll just say console.log MongoDB connected. Then we can show the connection host con our variable dot connection dot host, just like this. Then under the catch, you can just make this error to be any. Then you can just say console.log error connecting to MongoDB. Then you pass in the error dot message. Then we exit from this function by writing process dot exit, because we don't want it to continue. Exit of 1. Now we save. After this, let's check what we're going to do next. We'll create our user model. To create the user model, we close this config file. Then we'll create a new file in the API directory called models. Now in this models, we'll create the file user.model.ts. Now inside this user model.ts, of course, we'll import Mongoose as well. Import Mongoose for Mongoose. Then we'll create our user schema. Const user schema will be equals to new mongoose.schema. Then we'll pass in what we need. First thing we need is our username. The username should be a type of string. Then of course it should be required true. After this, we're going to need it to be 3 different places. This will be email, then this will be password. Now with just this tree we need, then we're going to add our timestamp just like this. Then we'll say const user, which is our main model. Const user will be what? We'll define our model. Mongoose dot models dot user, or mongoose dot model, create the name user, comma, the user schema, just like this. The last thing we do, we export our model. So export default user, and we are done with our model. What is the next thing? We are going to create our sign up route handler now to actually sign us up. So in this folder, we'll create another folder called sign. Let's just say sign up, like this. Sign up. Now inside the sign up, we'll create a file, route.ts. This is how you create a route handler in Next.js. You will use the word route.ts. Now the first thing we do is to export async function. Export async function. Post is a post request because we're signing up. We're sending a request to the database. So request, type of request, just like this. Then the next thing we'll do is to what? Connect to the database. Connect to database. They will say await connect db from our config, just like this. Now we're connected to our database. Then we'll get our body from request.json. So we'll say const body equals to await request.json, like this. They will extract, after this we'll extract all our form fields from the body. So we can say something like this: const username, email, and password will be equals to body, just like this. Next, under this we'll just go and create a try and catch block. Try and catch. Now let's perform a check. We'll perform a check so that we'll not scatter our database. So we can just say something like this: if no email or no password or no username. So if all these fields are not entered from our front end, we just throw a new error. So we can say something like this: throw new error. All fields are required. Now, if we pass this error, if we pass this check, this if statement, it means that the user had entered all fields. So we'll come under this. They'll say const username. We'll have to check if, const user. We're going to check if the user exists by using their email. So we can just say const user email, because we don't want two users to have the same email. So you make sure you pass this check also. Const user email exists. They will say what? Await. So we'll go and find all the users with a particular email. Await user dot find one. Make sure you import user from your models. Dot find one. Then you find it by the email. Now, if this user email exists, you will write the check for it also. If user email exists, we are going to return a response with a status of 400, which means error or something. So we'll say return response.json. They'll give you the message of user already exists, because we already have that email in our database. So we'll say user already exists. They'll give us a status of 400. Now we have passed the check of the user. Then we are going to hash the password, because we don't want the password to be stored as a normal string. If we store the password as a normal string, they can easily get our password. Like hackers can easily get our password. So we have to hash the password using bcrypt. So if you have not installed bcrypt.js, install it. So I can say const hash password. Password will be what to be equals to bcrypt. Await bcrypt.js dot hash. Why is it not installed? Let me import that. So I'll say import bcrypt.js from bcrypt.js, just like this. So if you have not installed it, you know what to do. npm install bcrypt.js. Let me increase my screen. Sorry, I think this is small. Yeah. So bcrypt.js.hash, they will hash our password. Then we'll pass in our salt. Just like this. Yeah. Now after hashing our password, you can actually save the user. So we just say const user will be what await user.create our user from our model user.create. We will pass in our username, our email. Then for the password, now we won't pass the password ordinarily like that. We are going to pass the password to be the hashed password, just like this. Now after signing up, we need to actually set the cookie, because we want the user to be able to come back and not re-log in, or we want our session to be saved as a cookie. So we're going to create a file, a utility folder to set the cookie. So here we have to set cookie here before returning and getting out of this function. So we'll set cookie. So to set cookie, in this folder, create another folder called utils. Then here you can just say set cookie.ts. Now we are going to export this function. So we'll say export const set cookie. Export const set cookie equals to async, of course. Async. They are going to pass in the user ID. User ID. Let's just make this any. Change it when you are writing in any production code. But for now, this is just for test. So any. So now make sure you have your JWT secret. So your JWT secret will be in your env. So be something like this. JWT secret will be equals to just any random number. You're not getting this from any website. JWT, you don't get JWT from any website. It is just a random string that you impute by yourself. Yes. So if we don't have that string, if we don't have the string process, if no process.env.jwt underscore secret, if we don't have that secret key, we'll throw a new error. Like I said, I already have this in my env. JWT secret is not defined. Then under this if statement, which means if we have the secret already in our environment variable, we are going to generate the token. To do that, we'll just say const token will be equals to JWT. Import let's import JWT. Import JWT from JSON web token. So JWT.sign, they will pass in our user ID, which will be gotten from this function. So we'll get our user ID. There will another option we're going to pass is our secret. So process.env.jwt secret. The next thing is the options. The options, you can just say expires in 7 days. Expires in 7 days. So our secret will expire in 7 days, which means we'll have to relog in. We'll relog in after 7 days. That's okay. You can change this to anything you want with your choice. Now, after I've gotten our token, we're going to set the cookie. So like this, we'll just say set the cookie. So in Next.js, to set the cookie, we'll say const cookie store will be equals to await cookies. Import that from next/headers await cookies, just like this. Now after I've gotten our cookie store, we can just say cookie store dot set. If we are getting, we'll use cookie store dot get. So to set, we'll say cookie store dot set. We're setting the cookie, the name of our cookie. We'll call this token. Then we'll pass in the token. Now we can add another additional option. We'll say HTTP only will be true. All this we're doing is just to avoid hackers, because this is authentication we're working on. It's not something that you will just write anyhow. So it should only be secure when we're in HTTPS, or it should only be secure when we're in production. Yeah, HTTPS should only be secure when we're in production. But for now, HTTP only true. So we'll say process.env only in production. Process.env .node.env should be equals to production. That is when it should only be secure, just like that. Then same site strict. This same site strict is used to prevent XSS attacks. Then give it a max age of 7 times 24 times 60 times 60, just like this. This is the max age. Finally, we return our token. So we'll say return token. Now that we have gotten this set cookie utility function, we can go back to our sign up route. We'll go back to our sign up route. Then here we set our cookie. To set the cookie, we just say await set cookie. So await set cookie. Make sure you import it from the utility folder. Then you pass in our user ID, which will be what? User.id. Just like this, yeah. Then now you can return our response. So we'll say return response.json. They will pass in the message. Message will be what? User created successfully. User created successfully. Then you can also pass in the user. We'll pass in the user. The user will be what? The user will be everything of our user, then minus the password. So everything of our user to object all our user to object, then minus the password. So we'll say password will be undefined, just like this. Then finally we can set the status. So we'll say status of 201 success. Then if we're catching any error, if any error occurs, we'll just return the response. So we'll just say return response.json. Message will be error.message. They will give this a status of 400. Now I'm getting this error. Okay, I have to make this any. Yeah, so we're done with our sign up route handler. What are we going to do next? Set cookie. I've done it. Okay, let's set up the front end of the sign up so that we can actually sign up. So we'll go to our front end. We'll close this API now. We're done with this. We'll go to our front end, to our sign up page, which is this one. Sign up page. Yeah. In this sign up page now, we just have the initial state, username, set username. Then in our input, we have the value of username. Then on change, it sets the username to the value. So which means once you are typing, it sets your username to the value of what you are typing. So that is just a simple thing we have done. So what do we want to achieve in this sign up page now? Once this button is clicked, let me show you with the UI. once this button in our sign up page, once the sign up button is clicked, we should call the API route handler that we've created to actually sign us up. So let's go and work on that. So inside this handle sign up function, we'll come here and put a try catch block. Now in the try block, first thing we'll do is to do what? Set the loading state to true. So we'll say set is loading to true. We already have the state here already. It's loading state at first. The initial state is false. Then once we are signing up, we'll set this to true. Then the next thing we'll do is to get our response. So we'll say const response will be what? Will be equals to await Axios. Now if you don't have Axios, make sure you install it by writing npm install Axios. So await Axios, then we'll write in our API URL. Now I'm going to be using the localhost API URL, but if you have deployed your site, you will come back here and change it to your deployed API URL. So just for teaching sake, I'm using this my localhost URL. So we'll say http://localhost 3000, which is where our API is, then slash API, this API here, slash API, then slash, let's check what I used to call it, slash sign up. I'll say slash sign up, just like this. Then the next thing we do is to pass in our body. So the body is what we're passing in username from the state, email, and what password, just like this. Username. Why is this giving me an error? I'm not going to get an error here. Let's continue. Okay, sorry. We're using just Axios.post. Yeah, sorry. Axios.post. We're posting to our database. So we're sending a request. So that's why we're using Axios.post. If we're getting a request, we'll use Axios.get. Yeah, that's a mistake from my end. After I've gotten our response, the next thing we'll do is to set is loading back to false. So set is loading back to false. Then now we'll just make a toast notification to say that we've actually logged in. So I already have toast set up already. You can use, if you don't have toast, you can use console.log or alert, but just for teaching sake, I already have all this set up. Toast.success. I didn't it install toast from Yato toast. Yeah, toast.success. They will get in our data, our message, response.data.message, just like this. Then finally, if we're done, we'll just send us back to the home page, router.push back to the home page. Now while we're signing up, if there's any error, we'll come here and catch it. So we'll say we'll set is loading back to false first. Sorry, not set email. Set is loading back to false in our catch statement. Then we'll just console.log the error. Console.log the error in signing up. Then we can pass in our error.message. Then also we can bring out our toast error. So we can just say toast.error error.response.data.message. Now this error, I'm getting error. It will just make this to be equals to any. Yeah, just like this. So with this, I think we are ready to test our sign up page. So let's see, we've got our API sign up, which is here, this one here, sign up. Okay, let's test it out. So let's actually try to sign up. Let's say John, email john@gmail.com, password 123456. Let's sign up. nothing happened. Let's check. Okay, we are redirected back to the home page. So let's check if we have the data here. Let's check. Oh, not this one. So to inspect, we can do plenty things. First, we check our console.log. There are no errors. The next thing we can check is our application to check if we have the cookie in place. So we'll check. As you can see, we've gotten our token. Then we can come to our MongoDB database to check if that user is actually saved. So the username is John. So we'll say users. Look at it here. John. Let me increase this. John@gmail.com. Then the password, as you can see, the password here is hashed. We did not get a normal. We imputed 1 2 3 4 5 6, but we got a hashed password in return. So yeah, we have been able to sign up successfully. The next thing to do is to fetch the user. We have to fetch the user to display their information here. So we'll write their name, then when they joined. So we'll fetch the user now. Let's close this. Then the first thing we'll do is to go to our API. Let's close this also. We'll go to our API. They will create another route called fetch user. Fetch-user. In this fetch-user, you create another file called route.ts. Just like this. Then now we are fetching the user, which means we are going to use the get request, not the post request. So we'll say export async function get request to be a type of request. I'm not sure we're going to use a request, but request to be a type of request. Then, of course, first thing we'll do is to what? Connect to our database. So we'll say await connect db. Okay, now let's import this. After connecting to our database, the next thing we'll do is to get our token from our cookie store. So we'll just say const cookie store. Cookie store will be equals to what? Await cookie, like what we did for our set cookie. Await cookies, just like this. Now I've gotten our cookie store. The next thing we'll do is to get our token from this cookie store. So we'll say const token will be what? Cookie store.get. I said it before. When we are getting something, we use the .get. When we are setting something, we use .set. So .get. Then the name of the token, just like this. Now if there is no token, it means we are not authorized to visit that page. So if let's write the check. So if no token, return response.json message unauthorized. The message will be unauthorized. Then a status of 401. Status of 401, just like this. So now if we pass this check, next thing we'll do is to just put a try and catch block. Then we're going to decode our token to get our user ID from the token. You know, in set cookies we set the user ID. You signed it here, the user ID, which means we can actually get it back from the token. So we'll come here in this try and catch. We'll say what? We'll decode this. So we'll say const decoded. Decoded will be what? Verify. JWT.verify. Let's verify our token first. JWT. Let's import that. Import JWT from JSON web token. JSON web token. Then JWT.verify. JWT.verify token dot value. The token dot value. That is your value. Then the second option we'll pass is our JWT string, our JWT secret. So process.env.jwt_secret as string, just like this. Now we're going to pass the check. We'll say if no decoded, which means we did not verify our token. So we'll say if that means our token was not verified. So if no decoded, what will us do? We'll return unauthorized, which means our token is invalid. So we'll say if no token return response.json, return response.json. No need for the message, let's just pass it straight up like that. Unauthorized, or let's pass in the message. The message will be unauthorized, authorized. Then we can say invalid token, which means a token actually exists but it is not valid. Yeah. After this, we're going to get our user ID from this token. So we can say const user ID. User ID will be what? Decoded dot user ID, just like this. Now we are getting an error here. Your user ID does not exist on type string or JWT payload. So we can just come here and wrap this JWT. If you get this kind of error, wrap it JWT. Now this token will be as JWT payload, just like this, and you see that error is gone. So we have gotten our user ID. The next thing we'll do is to get our user based on that ID. Remember, we're fetching the user, so we have to get the user based on that ID. So we'll say what? Const user will be equals to what? Await user from our model. Click on this. Dot find by ID. Then we'll pass in our user ID, which we got in from our token. So user ID. Then now I need the user information, but I don't need the password. So I want to get all the user minus the password. So how can I do that? In MongoDB code, I will say dot select minus password, just like this. Then now, if there is no user found with that user ID, we'll return another error. So if no user, we'll say what? Return response.json. Response.json, give it a message of user not found. Then a status of 400. Now if we pass all these checks, we just return our user. So we can just come here and say return response.json, then return the user, just like this. They give us a status of 200, which means success. Status of 200. So if any error occur, we are going to just return the error. So we'll just say return response.json message will be error.message, then give it a status of 400. Okay, I'm getting an error here. Okay, just make this any, just like this. Now I've gotten my fetch user API. The next thing I have to do is to get the user in the home page. I have to get the user in the home. To fetch our user, we go to the home page. So where's our home page? The home page is this, page.tsx. Now we are going to use a use effect to get our user. So we'll say use effect. Then we're going to get the user using Axios. So import Axios as well. Axios.get. Then our API URL http://localhost 3000/API/fetch-user. That's what we used, right? API, yeah, fetch-user. Sorry. In our page.txs, back to our page.txs. So once I've gotten our API URL, now we're meant to use async await, but we cannot use async await in a use effect. So we're going to use the dot then. So after I've gotten this, we'll say dot then. You get the response. Then once I've gotten our response, we'll set our user. We already have a user state here, user and set user. We have the state to be null at first. So once it is null, once I've gotten our response, we'll change that to be equal to the user object. So set user to be what? Response dot data dot user, just like this. How do we get this user? Remember, we passed in a user here. Let me show you. Look at this user. This was what we passed. So if we want to get the message, we'll say what? Response.data.message, but we're getting the user. So response.data.user. Let me close this and go back to the home page. Now I've gotten the response.data.user. Then if there's any error, .catch, we'll catch the error. Then we can say the error will be what? I just console.log the error, console.log error in fetching user, error fetching user. Then we can just log out the error, just like that. Then finally we can just say set fetching user to true, which means we are done fetching our user. But because at first we are fetching the user, which is true, then finally once we have gotten our user, we set it to false. So we'll say set is fetching user to be what? False. Sorry, pass the function like this. Now let's check. Let's go back to our home page. Let's refresh this. We did not get anything. Okay, yeah, as you can see it, John. Let me increase this. We got our name, John, and our joined date. Now let's check on what to work on next. We want to make this work, this logout button work. So to do that, we'll work on the logout API. That is pretty straightforward. So in this API, you create a folder called logout, just like this. Then of course you create the route.ts. That's how you create a route handler in Next.js. So get the logout. So the logout is going to be a post request. So we'll say export async function post request should be type of request. Then of course you connect to your database, await connect db, import it. Then try and catch, put in a try and catch block. In our try. So what is logout? Logging out is we just have to clear the cookie. That is how we log out. So we're just planning what we're doing here. We just want to clear the cookie. So we get our cookie store, const cookie store be what? Await cookies from next/headers. Just like this. So once I've gotten our cookie store, we just delete our cookie. So we'll say cookie store dot delete. Then what is the name of our cookie? Token. So we'll say delete token, just like this. So once we are done, we'll return the response. So return response.json. Give it a message of logged out successfully. Message logged out successfully. Then the status of 200. Success status of 200. Then if any error occur, we'll just return the response.json. So we'll just say return the response.json. Give us a message of error logging out. Message of error logging out. Then the status of 400. Status of 400. Just like that. So what is next is to the logout function in the front end. So when we're done with this, we'll just save this. Then we'll go back to our page.tsx. This is where we have our logout button. This is the button here, logout. So we'll come here. Then we'll say, I think we'll create a function first. So we'll say const. Let's create a function to handle the logout. So we'll say const handle logout. Will be what? Async. Just like this. Now we'll put it in the try and catch. In the try statement, we'll get our response. Const response will be what? Equals to await async dot post. async, sorry, Axios, not async, Axios.posts. Then our logout API route handler URL http :// localhost 3000 /API /logout, like this. Then we can get our message and put it in a toast.success, then response.data.message. After that, after logging out, immediately we should redirect back to our login. So say router.push/log-in. Then if there's any error, you can just console.log the error, console.log logout error, then the error, just like this. Then let's take this, we'll put this in the button, copy this, then come to the button and say on click handle logout, save this, then let's check, inspect. So we'll be looking at our token. So we'll go to application, then token. This token should be cleared immediately we press this logout button. So we'll click this, you can see logged out successfully, the token has been disappeared. Yeah, so I'll be able to log out successfully. What is the next thing? The next thing is to undo the login route handler. Then after that, we'll log in with the front end. So let's go to our API. Our API here, we'll create another folder called login, then inside there we'll create routes.ts. So this is a post function. So we'll say export async function post. Then we'll get the request, a type of request. Then of course we connect to our database, await connect DB. Then we'll get our body from the request.json. So we'll say const body will be equals to await request.json. Then after I've gotten our body, we are going to extract our email and password from the body. So we'll say const email password will be equals to what? Body. Just like this. After I've gotten our email and password from the body, we're going to create the try and catch block. In the try statement, we're going to get the user. We're going to find the user by the email, so that we'll check if the user exists or not. So we'll say const user will be equals to await user from our model, dot find one, get the user from the model. Let's find one. We're going to find it by our email. So this is the first check we're going to do. If no user, which means there's no email in our database, we're just going to write, let's just return invalid credentials or something. Yeah, return response.json message of invalid credentials, message of invalid credentials, then a status of 400, and a status of 400. So if we pass this check, the next we're going to do is to check if our password is valid or not. So we'll say const, you know that we're not using a normal string, we're using a hashed password, which means we're going to use bigret to check if our password is valid or not. So we'll say const is password valid, password valid will be equals to what? Await bcrypt.js, I don't know why this does not install by itself. Let's import it from here. Import bcrypt.js from bcrypt.js, just like this. then await.js.compare. So we're comparing the two passwords, the one entered from the body and the one in our database. So we'll say const dot compare our password, then user dot password. Our user is gotten from our database, user does find one by the email. So if the password is not valid, also we'll return invalid credentials. So let's copy this. Let's not write it afresh. So not if no user, if the password is not valid, they will return invalid credentials. If I've passed this check also, the next thing we are going to do is to set the cookie back. You know, when logging out, we cleared the cookie. Now we are going to set the cookie back. So we'll say what? Await set cookie. We already have the utility function. Await set cookie, then we'll do what? Pass the user ID, user.id. Just like this. Then after setting the cookie, we're not going to do anything. We're just going to return our user. So we'll say return response.json. Then our message will be what? Logged in. Let's just say message. Let's say logged in successfully. Then we'll pass our user. Our user will be what? Just like we did in our sign up. All our user details dot to objects. We don't need the password. So we'll say comma password will be what? Undefined. Password undefined. They'll give it a status of 200. A status of what? 200. Just like this. Then in our catch, if there's any error, we'll just return the response. So say return response.json. The message will be what? Error.message. Message error.message. Then the status of 400. Just like this. But I've gotten the error, so we'll make this any. The next thing we'll do after getting our login API, we are going to go to our login page. Let's close the API here. Our login page to work on the front end. So just like the handle sign up, we're going to work inside this handle login. So first thing we'll do is to create a try catch block. In our try statement, we're going to set its loading to true. Its loading will be equals to true. Then the next thing we'll do is to get our response. So we'll say const response. Const response will be equals to await Axios. Import it dot post Axios.post. They will get our API URL http://localhost 3000/API/login. That was what we called it. Then the next thing we'll do is to pass in our body. So our body is going to be email and password. After getting the response, we'll set its loading back to false. Set its loading to false. Then we'll set our toasts from the output to the success to be the response.data.message. Yeah. Response.data.message, just like this. Then we'll return back to our user. So router.push, so our home page, router.push/. Then if there's any error, you can just console.log the error. Console.log error in login. Then you pass in the error.message. Give this any. Just like this. So let's check. This handle login is already in the button. Let's check. Oh, it's not in the button. Okay, type submit. So on submit handle login. Yeah. So let's check now. Let's say John at gmail.com. Password 123456. Login. Logged in successfully. as you can see it immediately. But I logged in successfully. So let's check our application. So the mistake I did was I did not save my API. I did not save it. So let's check our application. You can see I've gotten our token back. If we log out, our token disappears immediately. So yeah, that's how you can log in and sign up using Next.js, route handlers, and MongoDB. Yeah, thank you for watching. And if you enjoy my content, please like, subscribe, and comment anything you feel like. Yeah, thank you for watching.